NATO's top military officer stated that he does not anticipate any further drawdowns of American troops from Europe beyond the 5,000 announced by U.S. President Donald Trump. Comments were made at NATO headquarters in Brussels, where top officers from the 32-nation military organization were meeting. The officer stated that the 5,000 figure represents what he expects in the near term. Alex Grinkiewicz followed Trump's surprise announcement of the move early this month. Support Trump's announcement blindsided NATO allies and came despite U.S. promises to coordinate military moves with its allies and avoid creating security gaps. Also, some U.S. troops from the brigade bound for Poland were told not to get on a plane to Europe shortly before departure. The Associated Press reported on Friday. The remarks follow President Trump's surprise announcement regarding the troop movements. The next question is how allies respond and whether defense officials provide more detail on timing, troop levels, or replacements. The U.S. government will permanently drop tax claims against Donald Trump as part of a settlement resolving his lawsuit against the Internal Revenue Service over the leak of his tax returns, according to a document posted to the Justice Department's website. The settlement agreement means the U.S. is forever barred and precluded from examining or prosecuting Trump, his sons, and the Trump Organization's current tax issues. The original lawsuit alleged that the leak of confidential tax records caused reputational and financial harm, among other claims. In the settlement, Trump will receive a formal apology from the U.S. government. However, the agreement specifies that he will not receive any monetary payment or damages of any kind. This development follows earlier announcements by the Trump administration regarding a fund intended to compensate allies who believe they were unjustly investigated. The settlement document, which resolves the $10 billion lawsuit, establishes the terms regarding the government's ability to pursue future tax issues. U.S. President Donald Trump has endorsed Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton in his bid to unseat incumbent Senator John Cornyn in the next Tuesday's Republican primary runoff race. By siding with Paxton, Trump is supporting a Texas politician who has long been a close ally of the president, however also one who comes with considerable political baggage. Paxton also traveled to New York City to rally for Trump during his 2024 trial and conviction over hush money payments to adult film actress Stormy Daniels. Last year, his wife filed for divorce amid allegations that Paxton had multiple affairs. In 2023, he was impeached by the Republican-controlled Texas legislature for alleged fraud and obstruction of justice. However, acquitted in a state Senate trial. Many Democrats have viewed Paxton as the weaker of the two candidates and relish what they believe is an opportunity to flip a Senate seat in a state that has a long history of electing Republicans. Trump, however, appears to have different preferences. The available reporting is at the allegation or investigative stage, with court filings and official statements carrying the main evidentiary weight. Authorities stated that the two teenage suspects involved in the shooting at a San Diego mosque shared a broad hatred toward multiple religions and racial groups. The incident occurred Monday morning, resulting in the deaths of 3 people. A security guard at the mosque, Aman Abdullah, is credited with actions that police say prevented the violence from being worse. Authorities responded to a report of an active shooter at the Islamic Center of San Diego at 11:43 a.m. local time. The suspects were later found dead of apparent self-inflicted wounds in a vehicle blocks away from the mosque. Police Chief Scott Wall noted that Abdullah's actions were heroic and that he undoubtedly saved lives that day. The investigation is being treated as a possible hate crime, though authorities have not disclosed a motive. FBI sources indicated that investigators uncovered writings from the suspects, but declined to specify the ideologies expressed. The search for the 2 teenagers began hours before the attack, after the mother of one suspect called police to report that her son had run away and might be suicidal. Authorities are continuing to investigate the circumstances surrounding the shooting. Trump administration is moving to roll back national limits on certain PFAS, or forever chemicals, found in the drinking water of millions of Americans. The previous rule, established during the Biden administration, set the first national drinking water limits for several PFAS compounds. AV Administrator Lee Zeldin stated that there are two ways to address these chemicals. He noted that the previous approach risked being challenged in court because certain required steps were skipped. PFAS are described as durable chemicals found in various products, including non-stick pans and dental floss. Industry groups had previously argued that the standards set by the Biden administration were legally flawed and too costly to meet. The discussion centers on the legality of the previous EPA rule. The industry's argument suggested that the standards did not follow all appropriate procedures under the Clean Water Act, potentially allowing the rules to be struck down in court. The next step involves determining how to proceed with regulating these chemicals, given the differing legal and regulatory paths available. Israeli forces intercepted all remaining vessels from an activist flotilla on Tuesday. The effort was an attempt to challenge the naval blockade of Gaza, which is intended to highlight severe shortages of food, medicine, and housing for nearly 2 million Palestinians. According to the flotilla's website, Israeli forces began stopping the vessels around 167 miles, or 268 kilometers, from the Gaza coastline. On Monday, the Israeli Navy had already stopped about 41 boats in international waters off Cyprus. The flotilla's website also reported that armed Israeli soldiers boarded the vessels, and that soldiers destroyed cameras mounted on the ships. Furthermore, the group stated that detained activists are being forcibly transported and are currently unaccounted for regarding legal or consular help. Italian activists reported that soldiers fired rubber bullets at the vessels. Meanwhile, the flotilla organizers stated that Israeli soldiers fired on 5 boats during the interdictions. The flotilla has urged world leaders to demand the immediate and unconditional release of the activists, and to ensure they receive legal and consular assistance without delay. Opening statements were given in the trial of Ebony Parker, who faces 8 counts of felony child neglect related to the January 2023 shooting at Rich Nick Elementary School in Newport News, Virginia. A prosecutor stated that an assistant principal at the school allegedly ignored repeated warnings that a 6-year-old student possessed a gun that was later used to shoot his teacher. Special Prosecutor Josh Jenkins stated that prior to the shooting, several school employees told Parker they believed the child had a gun in his backpack. Jenkins noted that Parker was told the child's mother would soon arrive to pick him up for the day. During the proceedings, Jenkins questioned whether Parker said she would search the child, or if she called the police, or if she would remove the child from the classroom and separate him. He stated that she did not even get up from her desk. Parker's attorney, Curtis Rogers, countered by arguing that teachers should have taken action if they believed the gun was present, suggesting they should have separated the child from about 19 other students in the classroom. Rogers also questioned other individuals who had direct contact with the child. The trial is proceeding with these conflicting accounts regarding the actions taken by school staff before the shooting wounded first-grade teacher Abby Werner in her classroom. The Trump administration plans to admit up to 10,000 more white South African refugees into the United States in the coming months. Officials argue that the status of Afrikaners, a group descended mainly from Dutch settlers, has left them vulnerable to discrimination and persecution at home. The administration outlined these plans in an emergency State Department notice sent to Congress on Monday evening. The notice cited unforeseen developments in South Africa as creating an emergency refugee situation. Under existing law, the administration must inform lawmakers about refugee levels for each fiscal year and consult with them. Officials are scheduled to meet with Congress later this week to begin that consultation process. However, the South African government has stated that the administration's claims regarding the refugee situation are baseless. The administration's plans were detailed in the notice, which also mentioned admitting up to 17,500 Afrikaners through the fiscal year ending in September. The next step involves the scheduled consultation meetings with Congress. A new analysis projects that nationwide enrollment in the Affordable Care Act marketplace could shrink by over 20% this year, forcing Americans to make difficult mid-year decisions about maintaining health coverage. The report indicates that the expiration of subsidies, which previously helped most enrollees pay for their coverage, is driving this change. This decline affects working-age Americans who do not qualify for Medicaid, a group for whom the ASEA marketplace is a key source of insurance. Furthermore, those who remain enrolled are facing increased costs. The analysis found that the average enrollee's deductible grew by more than $1,000, and average monthly premiums rose by $65. One factor cited for the decline is that many Americans were auto-renewing plans from the previous year. Additionally, some individuals downgraded to plans with lower premiums but higher deductibles, meaning they face greater out-of-pocket costs if they use the coverage. The projection suggests enrollment could fall from 22.3 million Americans in 2025 to around 17.5 million this year. The report, which used federal and state data, does not specify the next formal step for maintaining coverage. Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche stated that the commission overseeing the settlement fund has broad authority. He said the commission can issue apologies or award monetary compensation to claimants according to what was established in the settlement. The fund was created as part of a settlement with President Donald Trump to resolve a lawsuit against the IRS regarding the leaking of his tax returns. Blanche appeared before the Senate Appropriations Subcommittee while testifying on Trump's 2027 budget request for the department. Blanche also indicated he would encourage commissioners to consider all factors when determining who receives compensation. He added that his commitment is to ensuring commissioners effectively perform their duties, which include setting guidelines. During the hearing, Senator Patty Murray described the fund as corruption that has never been more blatant. Separately, Senator Chris Van Hollen told Blanche he was acting like the president's personal attorney. The commission tasked with the fund is composed of 5 people. 4 appointed by the Attorney General and 1 appointed in consultation with congressional leadership. The next step involves the commission determining how to apply its authority to the claimants. Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson stated Monday that the Supreme Court risks being viewed as political following a major voting rights decision. She emphasized that maintaining public trust is crucial, noting that everyone believes the court system is outside the political sphere. Jackson stressed that it is incumbent on the justices to act in ways that shore up that public confidence. She pointed to her own recent actions as context for the discussion. The justice has become a frequent dissenter, including joining colleagues last month to oppose a 6-3 decision that weakened the Voting Rights Act. She also wrote a solo dissent protesting an order allowing Louisiana to use new maps even after early primary voting had begun. Jackson further stated that the court had spawned chaos amid a fierce nation-wide redistricting battle. The statement comes as the court continues to address issues related to voting rights and redistricting maps. More than 17,000 people were under evacuation orders in Southern California on Tuesday as a wildfire continued to threaten suburban homes. The wind-driven Sandy Fire was reported Monday in the hills above Simi Valley, located about 30 miles northwest of Los Angeles. By Tuesday morning, the fire had consumed over 2 square miles of dry brush and destroyed at least 1 home, according to the Ventura County Fire Department. Department spokesperson Andrew Dowd noted that while the flames were initially pushed by gusts topping 30 miles per hour, calmer winds overnight helped firefighters make progress. Crews stated they hoped to continue making headway before the winds increased again. Despite the progress, evacuation orders and warnings remained in place for several neighborhoods within Simi Valley. Separately, firefighters were also battling a 23-square-mile blaze on Santa Rosa Island off the Southern California coast. That incident resulted in the destruction of a cabin and an equipment shed, and forced the evacuation of 11 National Park Service employees. The cause of the fire remains under investigation, and officials noted that zero containment had been achieved for the main fire. Crews are monitoring conditions as they await further weather shifts. A woman has died after falling approximately 10 feet down an uncovered maintenance hole on 5th Avenue in New York City. Officers responded to an emergency call just before midnight on Monday, finding the woman unconscious and unresponsive. The woman, identified by police as Donna Kukaj, 56, of Briarcliff Manor, New York, was taken to a local hospital where she was pronounced dead. The New York Police Department confirmed. A spokesperson for utility company Con Edison told media that after reviewing video footage, They believe the manhole cover was dislodged by a truck. The family of the woman stated they are trying to understand how the tragedy occurred. The woman's daughter-in-law told reporters at the scene that there were no cones, warning signs, or barriers visible around the maintenance hole. Police have confirmed an ongoing investigation, though they noted that no criminal activity is suspected at this time. The city medical examiner's office will determine the official cause of death. More than 60 colleges across the country are now offering students faster paths to graduation as the higher education sector faces shrinking enrollment. This trend is occurring as a portion of Americans question the value of a traditional four-year degree. For example, at Johnson & Wales University in Providence, Rhode Island, some students are on accelerated tracks. Sophomore Jadon Stewart, a hospitality management major, transferred from the University of Maine and became part of an inaugural class of more than 90 students now on track to earn a bachelor's degree in 3 years. Stewart noted that even on this shorter timeline, she is still required to complete the necessary coursework. She added that while she is taking major specific courses with fewer electives, she is still completing the work needed for the workforce. The push toward shorter timelines is happening against a backdrop where some reports indicate that only about a third of Americans currently believe a four-year college degree is worth the cost. The immediate next step for students and families is navigating these accelerated options while ensuring they complete all required coursework for their chosen field. Google revealed plans for its next generation of smart glasses, which will integrate the company's artificial intelligence product, Gemini, for user interaction. The initial models are slated to go on sale in the autumn and are designed to work with both Android and Apple's iOS devices. The company presented the eyewear during its annual developer conference, showcasing two initial styles designed by Warby Parker and Gentle Monster. This marks a return to the market after the original Google Glass launched in 2013, but was pulled in 2015 following backlash over price and privacy. Google executives stated the new glasses are designed to provide all-day help from Gemini spoken privately into the wearer's ear, rather than relying solely on a visible display. Meanwhile, the company is developing a version with an in-lens display capable of showing text and information. That technology is not expected to be released yet. During the event in Mountain View, California, a Google executive confirmed that more details regarding the in-lens glasses will be available later this year. Investor Christine Tsai of 500 Global noted that Google's re-entry into the glasses space is a positive development for the platform ecosystem. The next key development to watch is the release of more information on the in-lens display technology, which Google stated will come out later this year.